and welcome to the Connection Compass podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Louise Evans. For more information about my work, please visit Seasonally Guided. The link is in the show notes. In today's episode, I'm thrilled to be chatting with Celia Kibler, mother of 5 and founder of Be a Better Parent, the Day of Calm Foundation, and Fun Fit Family Fitness. Celia has spent her life working with children and parents on a mission to stop 10 million parents from yelling at their kids. We dive into what it truly means to parent intentionally, why yelling never produces the child you hope for, and how parents can create calm, connected, and confident families, even in blended households. Celia also shares her insights on boundaries, letting kids explore safely, managing parental fears, and how to focus on what's right instead of what's wrong. Plus, we touch on her inspiring global initiatives, from the Be a Better Parent app to building a school in Uganda. Whether you're a parent educator or just someone who wants to understand modern parenting better, this episode is packed with practical advice, heart, and hope. Hi, Celia. Welcome to the Connection Compass podcast. I am so grateful that you're here. For our listeners, please could you share a little bit about yourself?
Well, hi, Andrea. Grateful for you having me. Excited to be here with you. Sure. I am, first and foremost, a mother of 5 children. 2 I gave birth to and 3 I gained through marriage. I've been a real life parent for over 43 years, and I've been successfully parenting a blended family for over 30. I have 9 grandchildren, and I'm the founder of beabetterparent.com, the Day of Calm Foundation, and Fun Fit Family Fitness. And I just created the Be a Better Parent app so that everybody everywhere can have the advice they need in the heat of the moment right there in their hands. And the special thing about the app is it comes from me, because my mission is basically to help parents raise respectful children without the need to yell.
This is really exciting. There's a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about all those things. Can you tell me, obviously, apart from being a parent yourself and a grandmother, how did you become involved in this work? What was the journey that you went on, how you found this way? Was it always an intention, or is it something that you just fell into?
I have always loved and connected with children. So from the beginning, after I graduated from college, I have always wanted to concern myself with the health and wellness of kids. And so that's when my sister and I created FunFit, which is a kids' fitness company. And that was back in 1987. And I have just enjoyed my time with kids and families. And because it's family fitness, parents participate. So over these decades of being with these parents and kids and teaching the kids, I discovered that parents were really in need of help and that parenting itself was changing from decade to decade. The way parents related to their kids, the way kids related to parents. And as a teacher, you are automatically considered an expert in whatever you're teaching. So parents would come up to me after class and ask my advice and everything. And that really was the pivotal point that said, you need to do this continuously. You need to do this professionally. You need to help parents. I was very successful with my children, and they were growing up great. They were not fully grown at that time, but some of them were. And it was just a natural, I guess, revolution from teaching the kids and parents to actually being there to coach and help parents write my book, Raising Happy Toddlers, which is like a manual for parents. You know how they always say kids don't come with a manual. And it was just a natural transition. The FunFit classes still exist. I don't teach most of them. Someone else does. But now I do coaching full time and my work for parents full time. And it was just, if I'm ultimately going to help children, I have to help parents. So it was a natural transition. Shouting at kids, yelling at kids came from my childhood, where I was raised by someone who shouted and yelled, and how I came out of that situation. So it all just kind of blended together into this.
What I'm really curious about in all that is you mentioned about parenting changing through the decades. So, what changes have you seen through the decades?
A lot of the change, parents have always been concerned with doing it right, not having lasting effects on their children, even, decades and centuries ago, it's still a concern that they were parenting correctly. And what happened of recent change from like 83 to now is, of course, the ability to know more about other people's opinions, to read more. To back in 83, what do we have? Like Dr. Spock. I mean, that was like a book. I don't even know if you know it, but that was like the book everyone went on when my kids were little, that everyone kind of, parented accordingly. And then with the internet coming on and all of these various opinions of what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, what's gonna and nowadays everything's gonna traumatize your kids, which parents, let me tell you, is simply not true. And it's it just I could see how the relationship, because my classes are parent and child, so they have to participate actively together. I could see how the relationship would change and how these parents would be standoffish. They wouldn't be as easily playful. It's a good example. I had a parent that used to ask me advice all the time, and now understand that my fun fit classes are active. There's running, there's jumping, there's doing all kinds of things. They're playing with all kinds of equipment. There's circle time, there's, movement time. It's set up kind of like an aerobics class for kids. And the games and activities are always to keep children engaged. She would say, like, she came to me and she said she wanted to ask me a question about whatever was going on with her 2-year-old son. And her son was running around the room. Now, mind you, the room was just filled with 15 parents and 15 other kids. So
Mhm.
31 people, including me, were in this empty room. He participated in a 45-minute class. Now he is running around by himself. She looks over at him. She tells him to sit down. She looks at me. She goes, I don't want him to fall and get hurt. He just spent 45 minutes active play with 30 other people, crashing, doing all that stuff. And she was concerned that he might get hurt, all by himself. So it's just that hovering, that not giving kids a chance to be kids, not giving them their responsibility for different things, everything being directed and being done for them. No regard for the fact that he was just crashing into people with 30, I mean, there's not a lot of crashing, but with 30 other people running around, being active, learning his spatial awareness, and yet she was worried he was going to get hurt. So there's a lot more concern for a child. They might fall down. This might happen. What if this happens? So parents tend to we're hovering more and doing for them more and not giving a kid a chance to, number one, be a kid, and number two, learn for themselves and experiment and explore. So that was really going away in parenting.
Part of your mission, which you mentioned at the beginning, was to help 10 million parents to stop yelling at their kids. So, what was the inspiration for that? I mean, that's a huge target. That's a bit overwhelming.
But it is. But when you think about in this day and age, we expect everyone to recover from their childhood. Oh, you're going to grow up. You're going to have to go to therapy. You have to recover from your childhood. Wouldn't it be nice to be intentional about the way we parent our children throughout their childhood so they can actually blossom from it and not recover from it?
Mhm.
Recovery is not the answer if you really become proactive on what you're doing, how you're communicating, so that they don't have to recover. They should grow and blossom from their child and become miraculous adults. And so there are basically, for a lot of parents, it's almost like you're one shift away. Parents get a bad rap these days. They're blamed for everything. It's always their fault. And yet, the interesting thing is being blamed for everything, they're also made fun of when they try to do better or they try to learn a better way. That you've seen all those things on the internet. They're like, oh, that gentle parenting doesn't work. What works is screaming and yelling and smacking your child. Why is that okay? Why is violence okay over love? And people get the wrong idea. Yeah, I call, if you want to name my parenting, it's called respectful, because respect is taught. And yelling and hitting is never and never will be respectful. So you can't expect a child to respect if you're not being respectful. And it only teaches a child to be afraid. I mean, did you have children so they were afraid of you? Is that what you wanted? And the idea that you're only one shift away that I use often in my marketing is that sometimes it is one shift away. Sometimes, like a parent said, that routine thing doesn't work. Well, actually, the routine thing does work. It's not a thing and it's a necessity. But as in success, we're often told that success, the opposite is failure. But that's not true. Failure and mistakes are part of success. The opposite of success is giving up. And so if you give up on that routine thing and you don't give your kids a chance to master it so they can become more independent and responsible, you will fail and it will fail.
You've already mentioned one of them, but you have a trio of adventures, don't you? So could you talk through each one? I know you've already mentioned the fun with fitness.
Fun Fit.
Yeah.
So they all fit together.
Yeah.
So we have Fun Fit. So Fun Fit is a kids' fitness program that my sister and I created together, like I said, back in 1987, because back then there was nothing for kids except team sports. And the kids that were not so great, like me, I wore a body brace for 5 years of my childhood, couldn't, like, I was not athletically talented. I was not good at things. And I always felt like I was, in fact, the last one to be picked for a team. It was like, okay, here's everybody. We're going to pick this person, this person, this person. Oh, Celia. Well, I guess we have to take her. That's how I felt like through my school age time. So I definitely did not want to join a team sport. I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel, that I had the ability. And so my sister and I were asked by Baltimore County in Maryland to create a program that was all inclusive. Any skill, any ability, any gender, anyone could join it. And that's when we created FunFit. So a child could participate for 45 minutes actively. They weren't waiting turns. They were actually gaining health and fitness for the 45 minutes of continuous activity. And so we created the program and it grew into camps and birthday parties and still going on today. Then I discovered, as I said, the parenting aspect of helping kids thrive. And I started with Pumped Up Parenting, which has recently been rebranded at Be a Better Parent Doc, because I realized what I help people become is better parents. And somebody asked me once, why does it say be a great parent? And I said, because even great parents want to be better. Everybody wants to just be a little better, learn a new piece of advice or a new strategy that might move the needle forward. And then one day, a couple years ago, I decided that I was reacting to all the frustrations of the world where nobody will talk to each other. And you're not my friend after 30 years because you happen to disagree with me. And I'm like, this world needs to calm down. They need to just calm. We need a day. We need a day when everybody just calms down. And my next business was born, my nonprofit Day of Calm Foundation. And I decided on April 5th of every year, we would have the International Day of Calm and accompanying 3-day summit. It honors my dad, who was the yeller in the family. And he passed away on April 5th of 2020. That's where April 5th comes from. And he is a perfect example of what an abusive childhood does to a human. Because here is a man who's dedicated his whole life to technology and advancements for humanity. He and his 4 buddies are the reason we strap a seatbelt around our laps. They decided one day airplane seatbelts need to go into cars, and they made it happen. He created the seaplanes that carry water to land fires. He created the fastest ship in the world, in the warship, that is still in the World Book of Records. He did so many things, worked on the Apollo missions to the moon, went on and on and on. Yet this man, who had all these accomplishments up to the day he died at 92 years old, World War II veteran, felt like he was mediocre. He was nothing. If you said to him about seatbelts, he would go, anyone could have done that. And I'd be like, Dad, you did that. People might have thought of it, but you actually made it happen, and you saved an amazing amount of lives with that decision. And what happens is when children are abused, they feel so crushed. They feel so unvalued that they unvalue or devalue themselves. And so they don't grow up hating you, they grow up hating themselves. And these kids and other adults that have all this violence and anger and rage in them, they got that from their childhood, and they take it out on the world. And that, somebody doesn't just grow up wanting to kill people. They grow up because they're so angry and miserable, and they feel so defeated, they hate themselves. And when somebody hates themselves or hurts or feels hurt, they hurt other people.
Mm. Yeah, that's really powerful. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we work on the Day of Calm Foundation, which is other part of that very long sentence, is that we work to get all this parenting, why I created the app, in the hands of people everywhere. So at least we have a chance of getting whatever percentage of the population thinking more about, just because my culture beats kids up, yells at them, and thinks that's the right way, is it the right way? Does that mean we don't have consequences? Of course we have consequences. Life has consequences. Does that mean that we don't have structure, limits, boundaries? You have to have that for a child to thrive. But it doesn't mean that you can't raise a confident, respectful child, that you can't do that unless you're yelling. You actually can do that without yelling, because yelling will never produce that child you're thinking it's going to produce.
Yeah.
Or I should say that adult you're thinking of.
Yeah. And the third part, to treat you?
That's my 3. Fun Fit,
Yeah.
Be a Better Parent, and
Yeah.
Day of Calm Foundation.
Amazing. Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
that's my trio, all focused on the betterment, health, and wellness of children.
Was there a moment, either personal or professional, when you realized yelling wasn't the path you wanted to take with children? Was there a real
I
pivotal moment? Sometimes you can pinpoint.
Right, is that's the direction I wanted to take. I I feel like that stemmed from my own children and how I really wanted to be with my kids and my stepkids. When my stepkids joined, when we blended the family, I decided at that moment, this had to be very intentional. In order to create a healthy family of 5 children and a mom and dad, a dad that my kids didn't ask for, and a mom that his kids didn't ask for. In order to create a healthy blend, it had to be intentional. There had to be a plan. There had to be something that really, truly made everyone feel respected, and not the traditional blended family where, oh, I have the evil stepmom and I hate these people. And because know that when kids start out in a situation like that, they don't ask for this. They're stuck in a situation that was made for them, that they had no say in, and they're expected to thrive. They're expected to like these people that are now sleeping in their room. They may feel unsafe. They may feel confused. And so many parents, many that I work with, haven't even broken down before it happened and talked to their kids and said, you know what? This guy that you have met, or maybe you haven't met, because some parents, they haven't even met, they just come in and move in. And parents expect, oh, kids are flexible, kids are resilient, they can handle it. But can they? Where do you think all this inner rage comes from? Where do you think their inability to relate or communicate comes from? It comes from their lack of feeling safe, feeling trusted, feeling respected, feeling valued, and feeling seen. Think of like when you're in a relationship with a partner. So many partner relationships fall apart because someone feels invisible. If you go and produce this whole life for your family that is totally off track from where it began, and you don't consider your children a necessary part of the solution, you're creating one big giant problem. And that time was when I decided this needs to be a calm transition. This needs to be an intentional transition. And these kids that are coming into my home on a weekend basis need to know this. They are not guests in my home. This is their home. Their father lives here. This is as much their home as my kids' homes, and they will have all the joy and responsibility that this home offers. Are we going to clean house together? Yes. Why? Their house too. Are we going to go have fun? Yes. Are we going to be open and talk about our problems and issues? Yes. And that's when I really created the system that I teach other parents so that they can also create that true family harmony.
Do you feel that there is a difference, a disparity between what parents view as a safe environment and what children view as a safe environment?
Absolutely. Because so a key element here is recognizing that the human brain does not finish developing till we're 25 years old.
Ooh.
And many adults talk to children as if they're little adults. They're not little adults. They're little humans, like little birds and little elephants and little alligators that have to grow up to be the big version of that and know how to hunt or know how to fly or know how to do whatever. We are not born with these, and humans are even born with less than many animals are. So humans have basic human needs when we're born, and they grow, and they have to be understood that there are vital parts of their brain missing. So parents, I'll give you a good example of exactly what you asked. You go to sleep at night, and parents are like, why do my kids wake up in the middle of the night? So look at it this way, because it's so important to look at your family, not just from your perspective, but the perspective of your children. So here's a perfect example that addresses that security comparison. We go to sleep at night. The house is dark. We know this one's in this bed. This one's in this bed. The dog's at our feet. The cat's over there. We know that without having to have the lights on. A child is asleep in their room. The room is dark. The door is closed. They wake up for whatever reason at 2 in the morning and they're alone. They have no clue that you are in the house, that anyone's in the house, that they're not simply alone. There's nothing telling them that you're there until they can build that trust that you are. That's why sometimes kids wake up at 2 in the morning, and I'll make a recommendation, and I'll recommend it here, that you use your monitor. You don't go up and see them because for the most part, they just need to know you're still there. So you can talk into the monitor and say, "Hey, honey, I'm here. Go back to sleep. I love you. I'll see you in the morning." And that comfort of hearing your voice is enough to go, "Oh, mommy is here. Daddy is here," and go back to sleep. And that is a perfect example of how you feel perfectly safe in this scenario, but a child does not.
Interesting. And having done this work, obviously over many years, is there anything that has surprised you the most when working with children and parents?
I think parents these days, and, in the past, but more so these days, don't relax. They worry too much about, well, if this doesn't happen, then this isn't gonna happen. Children live in the day. They don't live in the future. They don't even know the future. They live right in the present. They don't address the past a lot. There's not much past there. With age comes wisdom. Wisdom is experience. That's it. It's not some magical ingredient that me being older than you, I have more wisdom. I have more experience. Me being older than a 15-year-old, I have a lot more experience. So we know more. But parents, because they're so worried and there's so much fear out there. There's so much fear. Like I teach stranger danger. I don't teach stranger danger, actually. The world teaches stranger danger. And the reason I don't teach it is because it makes a child afraid of everybody. When you recognize that probably 90% of the people they meet in their life are strangers, if they're afraid of everyone, they will never learn to be kind. They will never learn to be compassionate. They won't want to go anywhere because what if someone takes me? Instead, you should be teaching how to feel when a time feels uncomfortable, how to feel when something feels awkward or not right, or a person seems tricky, not really dangerous, or not really safe. Something this person's doing doesn't seem right. That gut feeling. That's what you teach a child, to recognize that. But with kids have, for the most part, stayed the same up until the normalcy of screens. That has been a huge effect on kids. Ki What they want to do and what they now think they want to do are not the same. Used to be, kids played outside, they ran around, they played with balls, they colored, they were creative, they were independent. You didn't have to entertain them 24/7, which, by the way, parents, you should not do that now either because they need downtime. We had downtime. We would go outside and mom would say, "Okay, come back when the lights are dark." Whatever you did outside, she didn't know. There's no phones. My kids, no phones, raised them into adulthood, no phones. They didn't each have a cell phone. And now kids have all this outside influence. I always tell parents, difficult conversations are difficult. There's nothing easy about them, or they will be called easy conversations. So difficult conversations are difficult. But if you don't talk to your child about a difficult conversation, Google will. And then they're getting whose ever advice is out there, whose ever values is out there, whose ever beliefs are out there, not yours. But why? Because you didn't teach them that. You didn't
Yeah.
speak up.
And it goes back to what you were saying before. The children haven't been taught that discernment about what feels right for them. So, like you were saying, there's lots of different opinions out there. Depends who's popular. It depends,
Right.
in terms of thinking back to when I learned how the algorithm works. So it depends what's popular in your area. If you Google something, it looks at the current trend. It might look at the current trend like locally and, and they haven't got that discernment. Like if I see something online, I might think, that doesn't seem right to me. That doesn't feel right. I'm going to look a little bit more into this.
Yes.
I'm gonna do some research around this. But if children haven't been taught about that gut instinct and that discernment, they're not gonna have that when they look online, are they? They're just gonna take on board opinions, what they see and perhaps what their
Absolutely.
friends think.
And not dive deep into it,
Mm,
and they'll be like, I like to call them the headline news generation because they see a headline on social media and that's it. They don't
yeah,
dive into it and they're like, oh, well, that must be true. And they've seen
mm,
6 words and they
yeah,
form their whole opinion around 6 words instead
yeah,
of diving deep and educating themselves, like you say. It's really a change. And now kids, because screens are so often given to them and thrown in front of them, either for babysitting reasons or like in a restaurant. How many kids do you see on a tablet in a restaurant? I was
mm,
just in a restaurant the other day, 2 parents, 2 children, both kids had tablets in front of them, and the two parents are sitting on the other side of the table. And I'm like, what a shame you're missing the opportunity to have a conversation with your children who are right there on the other side of the table. Why are they deep into a screen and not deep into you?
Yeah.
And you're missing that connection and you're losing the connection that is vital in humanity. We are social creatures. We are not meant to sit by ourselves and be engrossed in a show. We are meant to
Yeah.
communicate and relate and learn about each other.
And I think there are lots of different aspects to the work that I have done around connection and around teaching people to connect to ourselves. And I've been seeing it unfold over a very long period of time around how we're relating to each other and how dismissive we've become of each other. And but I think as you get older, there will be a call where we're recognizing that we're deeper and that we actually need something more. So I completely understand what you're saying and how this can play out in the future. So if a parent is listening and today and thinking about what you're saying and thinking, oh my gosh, I recognize myself in this. Is there one piece of advice or a simple shift that people could make today that would help them?
One of the simplest shifts you can make today with your children is to start recognizing the good they do. It is human nature to focus on the negative. Your kids are playing nice. You don't say anything. You're going about your day. They start fighting. Boom, in you go, addressing the argument. They've been playing nice for a half hour and you have not said anything to them. You have not said, wow, guys, you're really like playing really nice. I appreciate that. I'm getting some work done. After I get my work done, we're going to play. No, instead, that goes along. And this is human nature. I mean, this is like how we are wired. You're going along, they start fighting. Now you address the negative activity. And if you start making it a point to recognizing the good your children do, and they do a lot more good than not so good, recognizing what they're getting right. I had a client and I asked them, so because I always start my calls with wins, we want to always talk about the positive and what we're grateful for. And she was very discouraged with her son. And I said, well, Sid, tell me and it was in mid-afternoon. What did he do right today? And she's like, she thought about it and she thought about it and she said, to tell you the truth, I can't think of one thing. And I looked at her and I said, did he wake up this morning? And she goes, yes. I said, did he get dressed this morning? And she goes, yes. I said, did you have to fight him? She goes, no. Did he brush his teeth? Yes. Did you have to fight him? No. Did he eat breakfast? Yes. Did he get off to school on time? Yes. I said, you just named 5 things that child did right, and you couldn't think of one of them. You have to recognize the effort that that child puts in every day. Do it with your partner too. It'll change your relationship because they're always making an effort. They always want to make you proud. May not seem that way, but they always want to make you proud. You probably know some adults right now that are still trying to make their parents proud because they feel like their parents have never been proud of them. When you recognize more of the positive will show up in your life, and
And
be grateful for it.
and what is a common myth about parenting calmly that you would like to dismantle?
Well, probably the biggest common myth about parenting is your children will only listen if you yell. If I ask parents, why did they yell? They will say, well, I start out really nice and I use my manners and I ask them. And then I'll say, stop the video game and come down to dinner. And I'm fixing dinner and I'm doing stuff. And I realize, oh, 5 minutes, they're not here. Where are they? Go back to the room. They're still playing. So I ask them again nicely. Wait for them to come. They haven't come. I ask them a third time. And now I'm getting a little upset, but I'm trying not to yell. And then I ask them again. By now, I'm like a raging lunatic. Come to dinner, get off this game. I'm not going to ask you again. And you state you're not going to ask them again. And now they know you're serious. Because what you do is the problem actually isn't the yelling. The problem is you're asking them over and over and over again the same thing. Stop asking. Stop asking. You ask once, guys, you need to turn off the video game. It's time to come to dinner. 5 minutes go by, they haven't turned it off. Walk in there calmly, gently. All game consoles have an off button. They have plugs. They're portable. Feel free to pick it up and take it out of that room. Smile at your children and say, come to dinner. Will they be upset? Yes. Oh, well. They're going to learn the next time you ask them to turn it off that you're serious.
And what kind of world do you imagine if those 10 million parents truly felt more regulated and connected and
Can you imagine?
mm,
The world would be filled with much less rage,
yeah.
a lot less violence,
Mm,
a lot less needing to be in control of everything,
mm,
a lot more acceptance, understanding,
mm,
conversation? Because as you do this in your parenting, it also includes calm communication and being a good listener. The best listeners are the best communicators. And most people, when they listen to someone talk, they listen for their rebuttal. So I'm going to listen to what they talk about. Oh, I know what I'm going to say when they're done talking. You just missed half the conversation. And for your children, you missed really key elements. There'll be less judgment, less criticism, less ridicule, and more personal responsibility. And that will change the dynamic of the whole world.
yeah, I agree. And what are your plans for the future and the app as well?
Well, the app is part of our membership on beabetterparent.com. So you have like a whole package, very low cost, very low because I made it low cost because I want everybody to be able to get it. So our membership includes the app, you get it, and being part of our private parent community, or I shouldn't say parents because teachers are in there, educators are in there, everybody's in there. But it's a private community. You get one group coaching call a month with Q&A. You get open Q&A a month, one open Q&A a month where you just go in and ask questions. You get a hot seat a month where like we dive into two people's journeys and struggles. You get a live masterclass a month. You get all this support built in around the app. So you just don't have the app for 24/7 solutions. You have all this parenting support too. And sometimes parenting is lonely. And you're like, some people don't have family. Some people don't have a mom. Some people don't have a friend. And they're very lonely. They're very lonely. And community is formed. And when you have community, you have camaraderie. Yeah, I don't know why I'm saying all these hard words, like lonely. Lonely is not a hard word. When you have accountability, you have support, you have cheerleaders. And when that happens, you feel better about what you're doing and you feel more confident about what you're doing. The podcast, my Be a Better Parent podcast, we're going to have a mini series coming out where we really kind of debunk the junk that's out there. So parents like aren't listening to 90 million things. I'm teaming up with a doctor and we're going to really tell you the truth instead of so much of that clickbait that you hear out there that just wants you to click on it and get more views. And the Day of Calm Foundation is working on rebuilding a school in Uganda that I teach at. This school is mud, wood planks. It's horrible that these kids, they sent me a video of the kids cooking in their kitchen. Their kitchen, my friends, is all wood. They have a big cauldron on an open fire, and these little, like, 7-year-olds are cooking, and this little 2-year-old, like, walks in and waves. It's like a fire hazard beyond fire hazard. So we're working to give them a permanent home because these are about 400 kids that are in the outskirts of Uganda and would have no education if they didn't have that school. They're sold to early marriage, they're trafficked, they're terrible things happen to these children. And so they have a home where they can thrive. We're working on building that. And if you would like to donate and help, Even buy a brick for $5, you go to dayofcalm.org. No, don't go there for the school. You can go there, dayofcalm.org. But rescueaschool.com gives you directly to the collection we just set up to build that school. And so those are the things coming. There's a lot of other things coming, but, just keep getting that app and getting this knowledge in the hands of as many people as we can around the world.
We will make sure that the links are all in the show notes for people to
Thank you.
access. But Celia, it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been really interesting. And thank you so much for your time and energy today.
Oh, Andrea, thank you for having me. I'm very grateful, and you're a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Connection Compass podcast. If you think this episode will help someone else, please leave a review. For more information on Celia's work, please check the show notes. And remember to keep talking, keep connecting for a more interconnected world.